Welcome to Conversations with the Black Girl Blogger podcast, where you will hear amazing human interest stories from everyday people. They will inspire you, they will encourage you, and they will help you to overcome all of what you are going through in your life. I am your host, Aisha Morgan, and let's meet today's guest. Welcome back to Manuary, where we will be having all male guests on the podcast for the month of January. And last week we got to talk with Paul Gause about his transition from high school to college and into professional athletics, playing basketball. And this week we are getting into part 2 of that conversation with Paul. That's right, it was so great that we had to have 2 parts because no amount of editing would have done this conversation justice. So let's get into part 2. When you were done with overseas and done basketball, what was like your first job, like outside of being an athlete?
So I actually worked at like a group home with like troubled teens and kids.
Okay.
So, I was actually at Ranch Hope. It's like a troubled teens and kids. Because I always, like trying to give knowledge and letting people know of minorities, like, we can make it out. There is a way out. There is a blueprint. There is a formula. There is a way to success, and it doesn't have to look like everybody else's. Like you can have your own path, and we can end up at the same spot. So it was really fulfilling. Like there was a lot of cases where, kids would come in and you would see kids like that 14, like the man of the house, and they just were trying to survive and do certain things. And, so, and you had cases where you were like 11 years old and they're thinking that they're like 18. So, just going in there trying to help kids realize like there are good people in this world. Everybody's not out to get you. Everybody's not out to hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And seeing them open up and change, and then when they get out of the program, them continuing to blossom and grow, that was very gratifying. But it didn't. I would say like I was still like, this ain't it, I like this, but this is not it for me for the long term, like I can do this now, but eventually I know there's something else for me. So then I was like basketball training, training kids. I train like adults, like 50 I have a 50-year-old guy, 50 plus. It doesn't matter if you want to get better at basketball. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
What works for you, let's do it. So that's been cool, seeing kids like work on something that they need to work on, then they implement it into their game, and then they get like college scholarships and playing overseas, and then they be like, hey, thanks, man, I appreciate it. You know what I mean? So, and that's enough for me. And then I was like, all right, well, that's fun, but let me see what's on the other side. Like, then I got to like figure out that I'm gonna be a personal trainer. So then I can work on like, I'm gonna be totally on all sides of it now, like training, basketball, personal training, strength and conditioning, fitness, eating. So I'm just trying to now mesh everything that I learned together.
Yeah.
And like you said, like as an athlete, we had strength and conditioning coaches, but they're like, do this, do this, do that. You could do everything, but you ain't know what it was called.
Right.
Like you could read it off of paper after a while and know what it was. But if somebody said, do this, you'd be like, what's that? Like, and then when you did it, you're like, oh, that? I did that a million times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So learning how to like instruct people on how to like, certain form and like pack the shoulders, how to use their hips and glutes and, proper technique and all that stuff is what I'm learning now. And, it's coming along good, but I just feel like that's going to fulfill me in and not get stagnant and get stale, because you are going to always, meet new people and be able
to. Yeah.
So it's been fun. I've been official for maybe like a week now, week and a half.
Okay.
So I'm new, but it's feel like I've been doing it for a while, and I feel pretty comfortable. And I got good people that's helping me learn.
Yeah. Did you have to do any certifications, or are you
I
kind
got
of in
my
the process of
certification.
that?
I got my certification through the gym. So
Okay.
the gym trained me and they gave me a test, and I got
Mm-hmm.
certification through the gym, which was cool. And the funny thing is, my director for the gym, it was a basketball player.
Oh, okay. That works out.
Yeah, so I've known him since high school, and he was the director, and then I came into the gym, and I was working out there for a while, and then I was like, yo, man, what's going on? Like, we actually got a spot opening up. We can get a certification to the gym. So I took some time, talked to my wife, just to make sure that, like, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing this. So
Yeah.
when she was on board, it was kind of a no brainer.
Yeah. That's the one thing that like when I left college, like I had to teach myself how to work out to just be fit instead of like I was saying, instead of working out for
Run a race.
a competition or
Right. Yeah.
whatever. Um and so that was one of the things that I thought about doing like later was being a trainer because I had to like teach myself how to take my brain off of competition mode
Right.
and just work out. Like that's how I got into doing like 5Ks and half marathons because I'm like, I don't know how to work out. Like I know how to train, and
Right.
there's a big difference. So that's why I got into running, like those road races, because I'm like, okay, that gives me something to
Something.
train for.
Right.
Even though it's not the same as what I did, it's still your training.
Yeah.
So,
When I didn't have like, because like in the off season, you maintain, you keep your body
hmm
right, because like down the road you can get that phone call, and like basketball is a little different because they can call you and be like, hey, we need you to leave tomorrow.
mm,
For overseas, or you got 3 days, we need you ASAP. We're gonna have a
got
ticket
it.
for you in 2 days. You got to go there. You got to be in shape. You got to be ready, or you're gonna go back home.
Wow.
So it can be really rough over there as far as like if you like. I had a couple of teammates who were like they were like, okay, we a 6'10" guy is coming in, and he was like 6'8", and they're like, you're not 6'10". We're gonna send you back home.
Oh, dag.
Yeah, yeah. I was there was plenty of times where I was called into the office, and I'm saying like the GM and the coach, and they're like, "Yes, you are a really good player. Um, you do everything that we're asked, but we're not winning, and it's always the Americans' fault if we don't win.
Yeah.
So we need to like win the next 3 out of 4 games, or we're gonna just make a change."
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that, and this is what I'm saying. Like it can be really, really rough. Like I have guys that have come in and they're supposed to be shooters and they're supposed to make shots. And that's what they come in for. Like they're supposed to be like Steph Curry, like, yo, you're a shooter, you shoot threes. And
Yeah.
they play really well, but they don't make threes. And they go home.
That's
Like
crazy.
you're a really good player, but you didn't make threes. You had 25 points, but you had 1 3. We don't need that. We need you to make threes. And they send them home.
Yeah, that's so stressful.
So it can
I
be
couldn't even imagine being like, you need to win all these races or you're done.
right, right.
Like that is some pressure. If you don't get in the top three or you don't get a medal, you're done.
It's like you winning the race, but you're not getting the time that they wanted you to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
hey, I've won 8 out of 10 races versus the top 5 runners in my in my division or whatever, or in my group, but I didn't run a 10-8 or a 10-7 or a 10-4. So you're gonna take my scholarship away. Like,
Yeah.
like it's crazy. Like it gets like that. Some coaches are like, hey, you're fat. You're out. You know what I mean? So,
I mean,
yeah.
do y'all in your contract, is it kind of like where you're an at-will athlete? Like we can send you home at any time?
Well, that's why I said it's very important to try to get a guaranteed contract.
Okay.
if you can get a guaranteed contract, whether you get hurt, because like if you don't get a guaranteed contract and you get hurt, they can just send you home. Like, yeah, you're hurt, you can't play for us. If they want like that, they can do that. But if you have a guaranteed contract, or you have like in your contract that says, oh, if I get hurt and I miss like 2 months, you dock my pay 10%. And then if I miss 3 months, it slowly increases.
Got it.
Or I just get guaranteed contract. If I get hurt, I get my money. If you send me home, I get my money.
Right.
Like, so, and if they be like, no guaranteed, then no come. I ain't coming.
Right.
Like, find somewhere that will give me a guaranteed contract. So, but just a lot of players don't know that. They don't know.
Yeah.
That. You know, that's why it's important to try to get an agent that's going to put your best foot forward and do those things for you, because a lot of agents won't. They just, once they get a percentage of, like, it's like a finder's fee. Like the agent will get paid from the club once you sign and get there. They'll give
Got it.
And then once you get like the NBA or whatever, then the players will give the agents a percentage of their contract or whatever the case may be. Just the more money you get, it switches a little bit, but most clubs pay that agent for finding them for you.
Yeah. So most agents that have clients overseas, like that's kind of their specialty.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
they'll like send players there, and then they'll build like a pipeline. You know what I mean? Like this certain agent works in like Asia and South America, or this agent works in Europe.
Yeah.
Or this agent works in like Russia. He has really strong connections in Russia or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
They'll send majority of their players over there. They'll be like, we need a point guard, a strong point guard that can score and defend. Oh, I have a guy right here for you. Here he goes. Here goes his highlights. Here goes his numbers. Boom, he goes over there. And that's how they do it. You know?
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep, that's how it works. So it's all about finding a good agent with a lot of connections that have a strong connection with teams.
Yeah.
Some agents be like, hey man, listen, I'm putting my neck on the line for you here, man. Like, you got to go over there and perform. You're like, I have a real good connection with these teams, and you know, I don't know if you're good enough, but you know, we're gonna see. Like,
yeah,
like they'll tell people that, but yeah, it's just like business. You know, it's about who you know and where you go. Really,
always. Yep. So, looking into the future, would you want your son to play basketball?
Selfishly, yes. But you know, I'm going to take a page out of my pop's book, and you know, I'm going to introduce him. He won't play football. Me and my wife both agreed that we're not going to have him play football, just because of how the game is, a lot of people, and just the uncertainty of things. So we're going to rule out football early. But I'm open to any other sports. If, you know, I'll introduce him to baseball, soccer, basketball, tennis. I don't really care, golf, whatever he wants to play. Or, you know, he may want to be in music like his mom. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force anything upon him. I'm going to let him gravitate. And then once he gravitates, we'll go from there. So I'm just going to let him choose. But selfishly, oh yeah, I would love for him to be a basketball player, but you know, just letting him choose and, you know, have his own path.
Yeah.
Like that's why I didn't have a junior. Like initially I was going to be like, yo, that's going to be a junior, my junior. But that comes with a lot of pressure in itself, you know, being from the area, and him, you know, they already expect him to be this, and then he has my name, and it's like, oh, he's got to play basketball.
Right.
No, he is his own person, so he will choose. But we gave him a name that's ready for stardom, like like Astro Moon Gause. That, like, you know, that's his full name. So
yeah,
you know, we set him up to do whatever he wants to do. But no, I'm not gonna to push anything. I'm not gonna be one of them parents, you know.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like, I'll let her pick what she wants to do, and there's certain things that I'm just like, oh, and I just feel like because I don't want her to do it, that she's gonna be like, I want to do dance. I want to be a cheerleader. I'll be like, oh, and secretly hope that she just hates it and be like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. I do not want to be a dance mom. Oh, I do not. It's
Well,
just, oh,
what I've learned is if you introduce it to them early, like I'm already like I'm dribbling the ball. You know, Astros going to the gym. I'm always watching basketball on TV.
yeah.
He's like, you know, when it comes on, he's like basketball, basketball, and then he has like Mr. Rice court, and he's like dunking on his little court and doing this.
Yeah.
He seems like right now to really, really like it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's cool, but you know, then he could play soccer and just fall in love with that. Like you don't know, so
That's so true. Yeah.
um,
That's why I said I'm just gonna put her in stuff and see
take her to
what
the
she.
track. Take her to the track.
I'm actually like I'm against young kids running track, believe it or not.
I'm against young kids lifting weights.
That too, but like I feel like, and I'm not even talking about like 5, 6, but when they get to be like elementary age and they're like going to track practice after school and y'all, there's parents like especially in Texas, they don't do anything else but run track from
Yeah,
like,
but that's
the time that they're 5 years old till they're 18 going to college, they just run track.
right,
Maybe they might play like a sport, in school, but for the most part, they just run. And I'm like, no,
right, yeah,
like, and I feel like the kids that I've watched do that, they either get injured a lot when they get older
right.
or they're just over it. Cause it's like,
Yeah,
I've been doing this
you
since
get
I
burnt
was
out.
5 years old. Like, I'm over it.
You get burnt out. Like
Yeah.
that's why I'm like I don't like kids lifting weights because if you think about a child, their body is not even done growing and maturing in their joints and their muscles and bones, and you have
Well,
them
they're not supposed to lift weights until technically they reach puberty, which is like sophomore, junior, senior year.
right, but they got kids lifting weights at like 7.
I know.
Like, why you think kids are like growing up? I've never heard of like a 7-year-old tearing their ACL and doing all that crazy.
Yeah.
And now it's like all these kids are tearing their ACLs and Achilles, and I'm like, that's because y'all are having them. They burnt out when they're 15. Their body burnt out.
Yeah.
16, their body's
And
burnt.
our middle schools, like junior high schools in Texas, like they have lift like
Wait,
weight room. Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
They lift weights when they're in 7th and 8th grade.
No, my son will not touch a weight till he has a mustache.
Right. And that was my thing too. Like I know how coaches are, and not everybody, whether you're a strength and conditioning coach or not, knows how to train kids based off of body type,
Right,
based off of age, and based off of sport.
right. They
So
just
it's like you just having everybody do a football workout. Like that's not gonna work.
yeah, it's not. It's not for everybody. And like
No.
the thing is like I didn't lift a weight. Like if a kid is a kid and the kid's outside playing and running and jumping, that's workout enough. Like think
Yeah.
about when we were growing up. We were just out doing kid stuff.
Right.
And that was workout enough.
Yeah.
Now I don't mind kids doing like push-ups or like body squats.
Yeah.
It's your own body. It's like a natural thing. Like kids bend down and stand up all day long.
Right.
A push-up to a certain extent is not horrible. Maybe a pull-up because you're lifting your own body weight. But to add weights to a kid's body that is not even developed yet, you're just messing them up.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'm not with that. He will not be doing that for sure.
Yeah. There's this girl I follow that is a professional track athlete, and she put a poll up like, how old were you when you first lifted weights? And most of her followers are around our age.
Right.
Or between both of our ages.
Yeah.
So, everybody was like my senior, junior year in high school, or some people was like college. And so she was saying that she asked that question because she sees, just like we were saying, middle schoolers like lifting weights.
Right.
Like
Right.
when you're on a sports team, a part of your regimen, they lift weights. And she's like, when I seen it, I was just like, why? Like, why do y'all have them lifting weights? And they're like, oh, times have changed, blah, 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 giving this whole thing. And she's like, that's why I did that poll, because I really wanted to see, like, when did y'all start lifting weights? Because I told him the same thing. I didn't lift weights till I went to college.
Right.
I'm
No,
like, yeah. Like, we lifted in high school, but it wasn't like,
crazy. It wasn't like
no,
college.
no, not at all.
You had like testing and you had summer, like a summer program maybe.
Right.
And then like in season, you weren't lifting weights and doing all that crazy stuff.
Yeah. If it was raining or something, we would go in the weight room.
Right. Right. But
But
parents
yeah,
are
it's
trying to
crazy. And
do all that other things. But
I mean, I feel like everything's bigger in Texas, and that includes the extent that parents will go to have their kids get a scholarship.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like they like trying to get ahead and they think that like it's gonna be like they're being proactive and getting their kids ready. But if your kid is gonna be fast, times out of 10, your kid's gonna be fast.
Yeah.
Like
Like I didn't run till I got to high school.
right, you know what I mean? Like, but think about all the stuff he was doing in the yard, and
Yeah. Playing
like
basketball, I played softball.
right, you
Like
just
I did everything.
running around, wrestling and jumping and climbing
Right.
trees and doing all that crazy stuff, running back to the beach on the sand. Just all of that type of stuff was preparing you to get to high school, and you were an athlete. You were already an athlete. Like
Yeah.
people try to build athletes, and some people aren't going to be that type of athlete. Like you look at sports, you have athletes, you have people who are very skilled,
Yeah.
and then you have people who are both, but you have like Steph Curry. He's not the fastest. He don't jump the highest, but he's very, very skilled.
Yeah.
You have LeBron, who is a freak athlete, and he's very skilled as well. You get what I mean? So you have
Yeah.
different categories, and people try to put their kids in the wrong category, and then their kid will wind up getting hurt, or their kid is just not successful because you're trying to make them something that they're never going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not in their DNA. It's not in their makeup to be dunking. They're never going to dunk. Like it's not going to happen no matter what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That was one of the reasons why I stopped coaching like high school, because I just felt like I stopped coaching because I felt like it's good as a parent to encourage your kid to do whatever they want, to believe in them and to, help them achieve their dreams. But at the same time, like you said, it creates this false sense of success in their kids.
right,
And so like you have these teams, especially track, because track is like the dumping ground of everybody that didn't make a, tryout for a different team.
right,
So they know, oh, I'm just going to go run track because I didn't make the basketball team, or I'm going to go run track because I didn't, whatever, or off season of basketball and off season of volleyball. So I'm going to go run track.
right.
And they just, as a coach, what people are capable of looking at them. Like, what your athletes can do. And they just have this false sense of ability. And I feel like past like our generation, there's just this, and I guess what people call it is like that everybody gets a trophy type mentality.
Equality and sport.
Yeah.
If you pay, then you play. If
Yeah.
you're a team, everybody has to play.
Yes.
My child, why is this? I paid like this person played, and
Uh-huh.
so many teams and programs now to where there's like entitlement. Like if you don't
Yeah.
pay me, I'm gonna go over here. If you don't have me in the game, I'm just gonna go to this team. And kids go to like 5 different high schools, 6 different high schools
Yeah.
now. And because it's everybody claiming to be this, and there's so many teams. Like when I
Yeah.
was growing up, there was 2 teams you could play for. And if you didn't make either one of them teams, you had to go back to the drawing board and get
Right.
better.
Figure
Like
it out.
you figure it out for the next year and try to make it.
Yeah.
But
And
now
that's where I just saw so much of a breakdown. It's like what you have to understand is like you want to be a sprinter, but your body is a distance runner.
right,
Or you keep saying that you can run the 800, but your body is not an 800 runner.
right,
Like your work ethic is not that of an athlete. You can be on the team, but you don't have the mentality of an athlete.
right.
And
And
it's like those things that I feel like these kids are lacking because either they are late bloomers where it's like I'm just going to decide I'm going to play a sport. Like
right,
I'm in high school, I'm about to play a sport. Or like you said, they've been doing this sport forever and they feel like because I've been playing and I've ran summer track for the past 4 years when I was in middle school, why am I not running, on varsity or whatever? And it's like,
right.
because you're not good enough. Like, I don't, it
I
was
don't.
just, it was getting to the point where like, I legit was a motivational speaker.
Right,
Like every day I'm like encouraging them to, not give up because I wasn't coaching athletes. I was just coaching a bunch of kids that needed somebody to boost their confidence.
right. And what people don't realize is like, okay, if we want to prepare these kids for the future, when you get into the real world, nobody's going to be like, okay, everybody's going to get paid the same
Right.
jobs, but everybody's going to get this money. Like it's
Right.
okay. That's not preparing these kids for life. It's not
No.
preparing these kids to learn how to compete in life and for jobs and for different things. And then when you do have failure, how to bounce back for success and how to, stay on the grind and stay pushing. Like what people don't understand is even in track, like you have athletes. When you get a group of athletes, then it's all about getting them to mentally catch up to
Yeah.
their athleticism
Yeah.
and be able to push through that threshold of tiredness and wanting to quit and knowing like I do have more in the tank when I hit that wall.
Yeah.
Not to where you get a person who's not even an athlete to where, their best time is like the athlete's warm-up time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not close. And to say, hey, I'm not an athlete, but maybe I can go over and do the discus where you can lock in on form and technique, and you don't have to be this, and you don't have to go
Right.
to javelin. There's different things, you know what I mean, to where it's more based off technique, form. You can get momentum, and you're just not a track person. Like you're not going to
Right.
be on the track. If you think you're going to be on the track, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
that would be it though. They would have this just false sense of ability and like even at track meets and stuff, it's just like, what do I need to do to get that fast? Like maybe we need to change our workouts or I'm just going to do this or I'm going to join another, I'm going to join a summer track team and work out with them because that girl is on a summer track team and she's running fast. And it's just like,
I'm like,
I don't,
I tell parents, like, this was my first thing I tell parents. I would say, listen, some of you, the expectations you have for your kids are unrealistic. No, like they're unrealistic because your kid is probably going to be 5'5".
well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that right there is already pretty much negating them from being a Division I athlete, basketball player.
Right.
Like that alone, being 5'5" and not playing, not making the team till you're a junior.
Yeah.
Like even if this kid does score 25 points a game, the average height in the NBA is like 6'7" now, 6'6". Every team that I've been on from college to overseas, I probably was like the shortest one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But what got me by was my athleticism.
Right.
And then I was able to be skilled, but on top of that, I was very athletic. So what I didn't have in height, I made up in my jumping and my running and my reaction and my lateral quickness. So those are the things that made up for my lack of height. And then my mental threshold, like my mental needs for me to mentally lock in and be mentally tough throughout a whole course of a season or a game. A lot of people realize it's just a little thing that you can be a Division I athlete or a Division III, and it's very small. It's very small. So, but parents often give their kids that false security, like you're going to be a Division I athlete. No, you're not. Sorry, but you're not.
Yeah. And it does, and I think, you know, when you were talking about the mental health piece of it, I think that's why these kids struggle, because it's like, I'm supposed to be this good. Like, my parents have been paying for this private coach, and I've been going to all these practices, and I joined all these leagues and all these teams, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then I get to the school tryout and I don't make the team.
Right.
And it's like, well, number one, you're not paying for it. That's the first thing. And number two, like, everybody doesn't get a trophy.
No.
And now it's reality is hitting you. Everybody doesn't make the team.
And that's life. Everybody don't get the job.
No, you're right. And it was the same for track. It's like, well, why can't they just run? Like, why can't they just be on this event? Or there's nobody running this event, so why can't she just run it? And it's like, because at this track meet, the last place time is probably going to be 13 something, and she runs a 14 something.
Right.
So no, like, why would I have her run? And then that is going to even bruise her ego even more when she sees how far everybody is and she's in last. Like,
yeah, and
this is not that type of thing. Like,
and track is very isolating, especially as them type of kids, you know what I mean? Like,
when everybody's watching you.
Yeah, like
everybody, you can't hide in track.
You can't hide on the track. There's nothing you can hide in. You can't hide in a 4x1. You can't
nope.
hide in a 2, 4x8, whatever. Sprint med. Everybody gonna know the weak link.
Right. Everybody's watching you.
Everybody's watching, and you know, like, you have that person. That's why you have people who start in the middle and anchors, because they're gonna make up for what other people lack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're lacking that bad, it just makes it look that much worse.
Oh, yeah. And then it's like you said, having that mental capacity, like, you can't be so afraid because you know the other girls on the other teams are fast and they won state last year or they were whatever. And then you buckle when 3 other people are like counting on you to get yourself together.
Right.
To finish this race. It's like, you can't be sitting here afraid. Like, I've been in situations where I thought one of the kids was going to break down crying. Like, they're in the lane right next to us, and you know who that girl is on anchor, and blah, 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 blah. Like, can somebody else just run? I'm like, what?
And you're not a Division I athlete mentally.
No.
Because everybody in the lanes, everybody in the race is that person, that person that people are talking about. Like you said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody in Division I basketball was the guy in their high school.
Exactly.
Or their AAU team, just like you were.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know him. I played against him. I know him. I ran it, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to elevate. And that's just another thing about being an athlete. Like, athletes elevate. Like, you talk about like Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson. They all had to end. Kobe Bryant and LeBron and all these guys had to overcome somebody before them.
Yeah.
To get that rite of passage. You know?
And I think, like, you don't even have to go that far. Like, look at some of these teams that were like national teams, but were only national teams for a year. Right. Like, I always think about that Arizona team, and when they were just killing it, with
Man,
Mike Bibby and all them. And then they go and they're in, playing in the NBA. And to me, none of them really stood out when they separated outside of that Arizona team.
no, I mean it's because it's tough. Like you
That's what
have
I mean. Like, you don't even have to look at it from a NBA standpoint. Like, they were only good for that 1 year, really.
right.
And it was just the perfect storm for them. Like, everything just fell into place that year.
Yeah, but it doesn't. A lot of time things have to translate. Just because you're a good college player, a good college player don't make you a good professional. There's
Right.
plenty of people in track that were really good in track, but they would never make an Olympic team
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard. What else is there beside in track that's really going to put you on a national stage besides the Olympics? And if
Right.
you're trying to qualify for the Olympics, and that's the NBA for track. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there's plenty of people who have all-time records at their colleges and this and that, but they'll never crack a Olympic team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it's tough. It's hard.
Because
Like,
once you get to that point, you're no longer with your team. Like, it is you and your coach that you're now paying for,
right,
trying to get you to this next level, and that's it.
right. Like I look at the girl Thing Mo from Trenton,
Oh yeah.
but it translates. You know,
Yeah.
she was best in high school, best in college, and you can just see that she is an athlete, and she had Olympic numbers in college.
Yeah.
So
Just like Sydney too.
right, it translates. Like you can tell somebody who's going to be good in the NBA. You can tell somebody who's going to be good in the NFL because does it translate?
Yeah.
You can tell somebody you can look and say, okay, I watched this person run. I watched this person play basketball. I watched this person play football. They are Division I athletes.
Yeah.
Are they going to be good? We don't know. But
Right.
they are a good enough athlete to compete at the Division I level.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what they say, Division I athlete. that last word, athlete, is very important when you. I tell people, hey, your son is a mid-major athlete. Your son is probably like a D3 athlete, like
Yeah.
and that's just what it is. Like that's the harsh reality of it. Like you can't help it. They were saying all that I did in basketball. They were like, he's not a Division I athlete. Like he's not a Division I basketball player. That was the knock. Like Seton Hall was like at one point saying like, oh, we could have went and got this guy. Why did we get this guy from South Jersey? He played in a Group 1 school. Da 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 da. But I'm like, I played on the number 1 Nike team in the country.
Yeah.
And I led our team in scoring on that number 1 Nike team with NBA players on it.
Yeah.
I know I can play here. I'll just show you guys because I've been doing it already.
Yeah.
Like my AAU team could have been a college basketball team. We had 15 Division I basketball players on our team who all went high majors.
Yeah.
Two go straight to the NBA. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was never a question for me, but these fans, they didn't know me. They didn't never heard of me. I went to Charlotte, going to a small school. Up north has their own AAU teams. So they're like engulfed in them. They're not really worried about anybody else.
Yeah.
So going in was like, and then after the first scrimmage or practice, everybody's like, oh, we love him. He's so great. Oh, he's a good fit.
Yeah.
But it's those type. You have people who sneak through the cracks, whether it's because of their grades or like you said, some people are late bloomers. Some people mature late, and then they go D3. They go D3. They go junior college, but they are still the cream of the crop, and then they go to the NBA.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like
and
I
you
said,
think about it too, like I would tell my track kids, like, making it to college is step one, but
right.
there's a whole lot that goes into it once you get there. And I told them, I'm like, I came in with a group, 4 or 5 of them did not make it past the first year.
It's
Like first year, forget about graduating. They didn't come back. And it's like, y'all think that it's so easy to just get there, but you have to stay there.
You have to stay there, and then you have to not get pushed to the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I remember probably the first time I seen you when you were at Houston was at Penn Relays.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first time I seen you since you had left and went to college. And I
Yeah.
didn't even recognize you. Like I didn't even get to talk to you. I just knew that you were running.
Yeah.
Like, where is she? And you were like diesel, like leg, thighs, big. Like oh my goodness. Like
Yeah.
they transformed her. Like they transformed you. But I was like, I know she's going to the university. And Mr. P was there. He's like, yeah, Aisha's going to be running at this time. So we were getting there to make sure we seen you running all that. But it's just like totally different person. Like, geez, cuz,
Yeah.
like, what did they got you eating over there?
Now that I will say we were in the weight room, like that was a part of our regimen.
Right. But see, at that time, and then in the races that you were running, you had to have that power, that horsepower.
Yeah.
And you had to have that kick, but you were mature enough and your body was able to handle that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a different type of your body needed that.
Yeah, exactly.
Without them weights and things, you would have got hurt more at that point
Yep.
because your body needed to withstand certain things. So but like you said, distance runners wasn't gonna be doing what she's
No.
doing.
Not at all.
You know,
Yeah.
so just like parents understanding their kids and their body type and doing more homework than doing talking and it's probably the most
Yeah.
important thing. So
If you had to talk to a high school athlete or a college athlete who is saying, maybe I'm not gonna do the NBA. I'll just go to play overseas, or I'll do the CBL or
right.
something like that. Like, what would be your advice to them?
um to just be the best you, you know, learn who you are, learn your strengths, don't listen to other people and what other people tell you, you know, play enough and do enough to learn yourself inside out. Like me, I knew who I was.
Yeah.
I was a person that was going to score, and if you didn't want me to score, then I didn't need to be on your team. Like
Yeah.
like I knew who I was, and I knew what I brought to the table. A lot of the kids don't know their game, or they don't know themselves well enough, and they let other people's words and things get into their mind and create a narrative for them. Like you hear so many times, like, "Oh, this kid can't shoot," or "This kid can't dribble,"
Yeah.
"This kid can't do that," and then that kid starts to believe that, or "This kid can dunk," and that's all they want to do, or "This
Yeah.
kid can really shoot," and that's all they want to do, and they don't have a foundation. And so I would tell a kid to build a strong foundation in whatever you do, sports wise, because you're going to face adversity, and when you face adversity, if you don't build that foundation, then when you fail, you're not going. It's going to take you longer to build back up. When
Yeah.
you reach that. So just
That's so true.
just build a whole foundation and just try to be good at. You don't have to be great at everything, but just try to be good at a lot of things.
That's good advice. Last thing. So you have a college athlete, whether it be basketball player, football, baseball, they're looking for an agent. So what would be your advice to them to finding the right agent? Like, are there some red flags that they need to look for if somebody is telling them something, or?
I would what I do is I tell the person to find players that the agent represents and talk to them
Okay.
because they're going to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
and you can ask them questions and most of them will answer them honestly. Like, yo, how is it working being represented by such and such agency? And he can be like, yo, it's great, bro. Like, they got me right now. I got 10 deals on the table. I'm just waiting to pick one. Or I've been with this agency for 8 months and I haven't got any deals, any offers. They don't call, they don't text. I call them, they don't answer.
Yeah.
Those are like red flag things, you know what I mean? So the best thing you can do, because most agency has a clients list
Okay.
like online. You can go on like Eurobasket and look it up. All agents, all teams, everything. So just doing your homework and finding out from other agencies about what how they're being represented is probably the most important thing.
Yeah. All right, Paul. Well, that was a great conversation. Nice and easy. Good luck with all of your training stuff. I know you're going to have great clients, and I'm looking forward to seeing their transformations. And yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I'll talk to you guys. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on another amazing episode. I know that you were just as inspired as I was after listening to that conversation. And to let us know how we're doing, don't forget to leave us a review, like, share, and follow the podcast. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at The Black Girl Blogger and check out our website, www.theblackgirlblogger.com. And the most important step, make sure you share the podcast with someone you know and tell them to share it with someone they know. And if you know someone who has an amazing story to tell, or if you yourself would love to tell your story, leave us a message on our website or any of our social media platforms so we can reach out to you and have you on the podcast. Until next time, peace out. And that's a wrap on another amazing episode. I know that you were just as inspired as I was after listening to that conversation. And to let us know how we're doing, don't forget to leave us a review, like, share, and follow the podcast. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at The Black Girl Blogger and check out our website, www.theblackgirlblogger.com. And the most important step, make sure you share the podcast with someone you know and tell them to share it with someone they know. And if you know someone who has an amazing story to tell, or if you yourself would love to tell your story, leave us a message on our website or any of our social media platforms so we can reach out to you and have you on the podcast. Until next time, peace out.